Hi, this is a submission for Big Data project from Sri Chakradhar, Satvik and Nikita. Let's look at the poster for our project. Our project is about the Twitter analysis of COVID-19 tweets. So, as we all know, COVID-19 has shook the world in 2020 because it became the global pandemic. So, a few of the patterns that we identified were like most of the tweets came from the countries that got affected the most, United States, Spain, Italy, China, India, etc. And also we have created a map of the states which got affected in the United States, those states. We have mapped them on the United States map. We have also analyzed the sentiment of the tweets and the source of the tweets from which they came, like the Android, iPhone, or web client, the language in which tweets belong to, majorly English, along with Spanish, followed by French, etc. And also the favorite day or the favorite weekday for posting tweets on COVID-19 turned out to be Wednesday. Not sure why, but yeah, it's kind of interesting. And highest, the most grossing hashtag about COVID-19 tweets is, as you just guessed it, COVID-19, and followed by coronavirus. I think that's guessable. We also have collected the number of statuses. There were around 4 million statuses, like tweets and retweets about COVID-19. And yeah, let's look at this architecture that we followed. So we have created an EC2 instance which scrapes data from Twitter using Twitter API, and those tweets are passed on to the Kinesis data stream, which is an Apache Kafka service provided by AWS, and those are being subscribed to by the Spark streaming service, and whereas EC2 is the publisher. After collecting the tweets into an RDD in Spark, a live RDD, we have created a view which we used to query with SQL and convert the output into pandas data frame and use matplotlib to plot the graphs. We also made an offline version which scrapes tweets and stores them in a JSON file in a Hadoop directory, and we have written the code in Visual Studio Code, and we have used pandas to show the graphs, and we used Node.js app. We created Node.js app to show the graphs using AMChats, and we also have Dockerized the entire application. So we'll be showing you the demo of the offline and online versions now. So this is how we created a Docker Compose file with Python API and the Node.js app. We can run the Docker Compose file using Docker Compose up -d, but I'm running in non-detached mode, which shows us the output while creating the images and running containers. So the front end looks like this with queries. So while this is running, we can see it gives us the graph of the different languages, and the same thing for location of tweets, for tweet sentiment, and also the day of week. Take some time to crunch the data. Okay, so the backend is running on 5000 port. So it gets the query here and runs a Spark UI job, and gives us a JSON which is taken by frontend to show the data here. So we can stop the services by pressing Ctrl C, and once the services are stopped, we can use Docker Compose down to remove the containers and the network. So this is the offline mode. Coming to the online mode, we have used Twitter capture stream script, which is a Python script which takes the Twitter stream tweets from the data stream and sends it to a Twitter data stream on AWS Kinesis, and the tweets are being collected and then being streamed directly to AWS Kinesis Twitter data stream, and AWS Kinesis sends those tweets to the stream is being initialized. Tweets are being collected from the stream of AWS Kinesis, and those tweets are being added to the data frame, the RDD here in the Spark SQL, and the same RDD is used to to analyze sentiment and to graph different kinds of queries and results, along with some pre-processing of the data. So our graphs, we have analyzed the graphs based on the countries, the states, different states from which Twitter's tweets have emerged, and the sentiments, and the same can be refreshed using these buttons here. running Hadoop version under the Hadoop version. The version that I have installed in my local system is Hadoop 3.13, and Spark version is in my dash RC. So I have configured these environment variables for Hadoop. So my Hadoop is installed in user local Hadoop directory, and Spark is installed in opd/spark. And these are other components that I use along with Hadoop. For SQL is Hive, but Pig is under already defined, and they all need Java to be installed in first place. So this is how it is configured. Now let me try to spin up all services of Hadoop in this command. Starting name nodes, data nodes, and secondary name node. Now it should try to spin up the resource manager, yarn, here, and node managers. And let's see how many of them were successfully started. I think it takes some time for them to start. So let's see where the Hadoop UI is running. I think it is this. So let me open this in the browser. Yeah, so this is the data node. It has been changed to 9870. So let's try this. Localhost 9870. Okay, yeah, there it is. So this is the overview of the Hadoop system, and you see the name node, general status, the name node storage. We have created a directory with user local Hadoop. I think it's people directory that I have created is in data node. So this is the data node usage. It says we have 686 GB of hard disk. Out of which 100 MB is used for the reads that I have copied from local to Hadoop file system using HDF and JFS port. And let me show you the storage. Let's browse the file system and see what are the files available. So these are the two folders available in the root directory. One is HDuser, the other one is TMP. And in HDuser I have COVID-19 page.json. This is 72 MB. This is the only file that we have in our file system. And the boxes we are using 100 MB. Let's see the Spark execute. Now that we have the data ready in the Hadoop cluster, or I can show you how I did JFS, Hadoop FS / HDuser. So we can run some commands in Hadoop. So if you see we have one directory as HDuser and another directory COVID-19. So if you go to COVID-19, you can see we have reads.json. This is in the data node. Okay, now let's go and open SparkQL notebook. I will change this directory. Now let me open the notebook. So I have created a SparkQL notebook in which I am creating a Spark session with admin COVID-19, and let me run that right now. Okay, so to import, so the problem here is I am not installed PySpark as a Python module, but rather the Spark installation itself provides me PySpark module. So but to find that, to fetch that reference into Spark notebook, I need to show where the Spark home folder is to the Python notebook. So that we have a module called find Spark, and we have to find Spark target. So this initializes the directory and we create the link for Python find PySpark module in the Spark installation directory. So it's running. Okay, it is successfully run. So that means we have a Spark station now. So we can load the tweets.json file. So this I did when I was doing it locally, but now that we have moved the file to the Hadoop system, we can specify the path as the Hadoop path instead of the local path. So I'll give the Hadoop path here, and then ask the Spark to read the JSON file which is loaded in that path. So it takes some time to load. It needs to remove the Hadoop API and then load the data from the disk. Okay, now we have loaded the data in the tweet data frame. So if you say df.show, it will show you all the data and these are the columns in the data. So let's see what is the schema of the file tweets file. So this is the schema of the tweets file. We have contributors created at entities in which we have hashtags. Media is all the videos and image elements. URLs are the hyperlinks, and we have some other data like geographical data, coordinates data. This is the geographical data and coordinates, and these have been duplicated, but we have another key in that place called coordinates, which gives the latitude and longitude of the tweet. So we have a long list of all the available columns. So let's see how to make use of these columns. So if I if I ask to print only the text, so it prints the truncated text of the top 20 rows. It doesn't give you all the rows because it is very lengthy. And so to create a Spark SQL, to execute a Spark SQL command, we need to create a temporary view, which is like a table, like a temporary table. View is kind of table, but it doesn't have data, it's just structure. So we need to create a view. I'm creating a view called tweets, and I'm creating that on the data frame. So from the data frame, we have a view called tweets on which we can query upon. So let me execute that and show you what it shows. So now I'm seeing how many tweets we have using count function. It says we have 10,000 tweets. That's where I stopped my server, my script server. And if I ask if I can query these three columns from the tweets view, I can see the ID, text, and the tension of the tweets, of a few tweets. I limited them to 20. And here I'm just concatenating the timestamp and the tweet ID and the tweet text, so that we can see it in full, so truncated text. So we can see all kinds of languages here, like Arabic and Espanol, Spanish. I think this is French, I'm not sure, and also English, of course. So the first query that we did was calculating what is the profile, user's profile, where are they coming from. So unfortunately we could not find data about coordinates. We also have to use coordinates. So I run this, so I'm able to fetch only 2 records which have the no GPS or location data. Maybe people might have turned off their location access permission on their mobiles, I guess, while they're tweeting. So for the 10,000 tweets, we will get only two tweets with location. We may have to try to screen a bit more to see if there are any more tweets with location data. So we will map this location on Google Map. We'll be looking at that in a little while. So the next stage, coming to the language, which language the tweets are, how many tweets are in. So English is obviously the highest tweeted language, followed by Spanish and French, and few others. And the source of tweet is like from where the tweet has originated, like is it from Android or iPhone. So we are counting the source type of source from where it has originated, and then I'm printing it using the map function, which finds out like in the tweet we get a URL, actually anchor tag for each of those sources. From there we are using regex to find out what is the exact text in the anchor tag that determines the type of source. And coming to the verified and officials, so we are looking at property called user.verified is true. So that means it is a verified account, and those tweets are likely to be more that can be trustworthy than other tweets. So, and coming to the day of week, so we are looking at the date on which the tweet has been created and determining on which day it falls. And if you look at the day, it seems Wednesday is the most favorite day for people to tweet a lot. Followed almost as far as Tuesday and Wednesday, then being the midweek, and Saturday and Sunday, Saturday being the least, interestingly, because people never busy socializing in person or in reality rather than on internet, I guess. So coming to time zones, I cannot find any time zone data. I don't know why that is. And again, we may have to scrape a few more tweets for to enter time zone data. And these are the count of both statuses. I mean, all statuses, like tweets and retweets combined together, and corresponding accounts. So these are like the averages of those statuses from each user for with an average in these ranges. And we're looking at the friend count averages for the top 4,000 people. And let me show you the UI that we made for this with all the visualizations. So what we did here is we created a server in Flask. Python Flask is a lightweight web server creation framework, web app framework, which creates a web server from which you can serve the requests. So we're creating an API here, which uses Spark. We're importing Spark modules, and we're creating a Spark agent again and loading the tweets. The same thing that we did before. So each of these queries, these functions are the queries. So whenever we get a query from the front end, it is going to route that query to the corresponding function. And let me run this API and show you the data that we get on the backend, and also we'll be getting a log of what's happening on the console also. So now Spark is having it is about to start. The Spark UI will be running in 4.0.4.0 and 4.0.4.1. Let me show you what's going on there. 4.0.4.0. So this is the default Spark UI which we can access on the command line. And if you look at 4.0.4.1, this is the UI that is for the calls that we will be making to the API. So now it is running, it is active. So we can go to localhost 5000, which is the address for backend. So if I just go to 5000 and say hello world, so we have to provide query for that. So that query says location. So now what happens if you take a look at the backend is it is crunching the data, it is going through the functions, and it gives us the location data. So now you can see that there are two tweets with location data, and we have a latitude and longitude. So let me change that to language. So if I provide the query as language, let's see what happens in the backend. So if it submits a Spark UI job, you can take a look at the Spark job here. So it has there is one complete job. Let's look at the details. So it just shows the metrics that the record size is 100 MB and 10,001 records. And it took 3 seconds to crunch 10,000 records for Spark and to provide the results. So these are the results, the language and the count. These results have been sent to the front end like an array, and we'll be using this array to plot the graph, as you can see in little small time shorter. So instead of language, let me say day of week. So now the same thing happens. The Spark job is triggered, and the insights have been returned to the front end with in JSON format. The same happens if we do source as well. Source is like which from where the data is generated. Okay, so now look at the same thing with the UI. So this is the Node.js server that we have created, and it runs on port 801. And let's see what's there. Let me run the server first. So it's running 8081. Maybe I need to update the database message. So this is how our front end looks. So we are looking at the tweet sentiment. It calculates the amount of sentiment for all the tweets. We have so many positive and negative tweets. If you look at the location of tweets, so I'm yet to activate my account, so that's why it is error. The Google Maps account. So now that you can see, we were able to pinpoint from where the tweet has originated and has been plotted on the map. And if you look at the tweet language, it does the same thing again. It crunches the data and sends back the results, which are shown here, and with the plotted graph. Now let's look at the source. So if you look at the source, this is how it is. For Android is the highest highly most used platform for many tweets on COVID-19, followed by iPhone and Twitter app, and followed by everything else. And same thing goes to verified accounts. Here, let's look at the each day. Okay, so these are the statistics for the day of week. So it seems like they're completely the same, but Tuesday and Wednesday have a bigger share with 50%. Whereas others have on similar range around 13%, 14%. So it's almost equally distributed. And let's look at the retweet count, all the statuses from all the people of the tweets. So it's going to take a little while. Yeah, so this is how it looks. So again, the account with the highest number of tweets and retweets is HubBucket, and you can see. So the 50 tweets from HubBucket. I think this is a healthcare company, so it makes sense. It made the highest number of tweets on COVID-19. You can see there's almost everything is about COVID-19 on the page. So yeah, they have the